In Praise of Junk Hacking by Pastor Manuel Laproig. In polite descent to Daily Dave. Gather round, y'all, young and old, and listen to a story I have to tell. Back in 2014, when we all were eagerly waiting for Scorpion to debut on the TV network formerly known as Columbia Broadcasting System, a minor ruckus was raised over junk hacking. The moral fiber of the youth, it was said, was being corrupted by a dozen cheap black hat talks on popping embedded systems with old bugs from the 90s. Who among us high-browed neighbors would sully the good name of our profession by hacking an ATM that runs Windows XP, when breaking XP is old hat? Let's think for a minute and consider the best examples of neighborly junk hacking. Perhaps we'll find that rather than being mere publicity stunts, junk hacking is a way to step back from the daily grind of confidential consulting work to share nifty tricks and techniques that are often more important than the bug itself. Our first example today comes from everyone's favorite doctor in a tracksuit, Charlie Miller. If you have the misfortune of reading about his work in the lay press, you might have heard that he could blow up laptop batteries by software, or that he was recklessly irresponsible by disabling the powertrain of a car with a reporter inside. That is to say, from the lay press articles, you wouldn't know a damn thing about what mechanism he experimented with. So please read the fucking paper, the battery hacking paper, and ignore what the CNN has to say on the subject. Read about how the smart battery charger, SBC, is responsible for charging the battery, even when the host is unresponsive. And consider how much more stable this would have been than giving the host responsibility for managing the state. Read about how a complete development kit is available for the platform. About how the firmware update is flashed out of order to prevent bricking of the battery. Read about how the Texas Instruments BQ20Z80 chip is a Coolrisk 816 microcontroller, which was identified by Dino Blasatsky through Googling opcodes when the instruction set was not documented by the manufacturer. See that the maskram functions are well documented in sluu255.pdf. Read about how code memory erases not all ones, as most architectures would, but to FF, 3F, because that's a no-op instruction. Read about how this architecture wasn't supported by IDA Pro, but that a plug-in disassembler wasn't much trouble to write. Read about how instructions on the Coolrisk platform are 22 bits wide and 24-bit aligned, so code might begin at any 3-byte boundary. See how Charlie bypasses the firmware checksums in order to inject his own code. Can you really read all 38 pages without learning one new trick? Without learning anything nifty? Without anything more to say than your disappointment that the battery shipped with the default password? He who has eyes to read, let him read. Loyal readers of this journal will remember Proof of Concept or Get the Fuck Out 2:4, in which Natalie Slivanovic got remote code execution in a Tamaguchi's 6502 microprocessor through a plug-in memory chip. Big whoop, some jerk might say. Local control of memory is getting root when you already have root. Rereading her article, it packs a hell of a lot into just 2 pages. The memory that she controls is just data memory, containing some fixed-size sprites and a single byte describing the game the cartridge should load. The game itself, like all other code, is already in the CPU's unwritable mask ROM. So, given just 1 byte of maneuverability, Natalie tried each value, discovering that a switch statement had no default case. So values above 0x20 would cause a reboot, while really high values above 0xD8 would sometimes jump the game to a valid screen. At this point, she had a good idea she was running off the end of a jump table. But, as is common in the best junk hacking, she had no copy of code and needed an exploit to extract the code. She did, however, know from die photographs and data sheets that the ship was a General Plus GPLB52X with a 6502 instruction set. So, she came up with a clever trick of making a background picture that, when loaded into LCD RAM, would run an OPSLED into shellcode that dumped the memory out of an I/O port. By reverse engineering that memory dump, she was able to replace her Hail Mary of an OPSLED with a perfectly placed, efficient shellcode containing any number of fancy new features. You can even send your Tamaguchi to 30C3 if you like. The point of a paper is no more about securing the Tamaguchi than Charlie's is about securing a battery. The point of the paper is to teach the reader the mechanism by which she dumped the firmware. And if you read those 2 papers without learning something new about exploiting a target, for which you have no machine code to disassemble, you aren't really trying. He who has eyes to read, let him read. This is the crux of the matter, dear neighbors. We became jaded by so much garbage on TV, so much crap in the news, and so much attempt to straitjacket the narrative of security research by the mistaken belief that it must involve security. But the best security research doesn't involve security. The best research has no CV, demands no patch, and has no direct relation to anything from your grandmother's credit card number to your server's shadow file. The very best research is that which teaches you something new about the mechanism by which a machine functions. It teaches you how to build something, how to break something, or how to take something apart. But, most of all, it teaches you how the hell things really work. So to hell with the target, and to hell with the reporters. Teach me how a thing works, and teach me the techniques you need to do something clever with it. But if you casually dismiss the clever tricks learned from hacking an Apple II, a battery, or a Tamaguchi, I'm afraid that I will have to ask you, politely, but firmly, to get the fuck out.